This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, October 20th, 2020, episode 301. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit my personal website at nickcraig.net and our website, infectionpodcast.com. Now, before I introduce Brian with an I Aldridge, Brian, I have to tell you, somebody went to my website, nickcraig.net, which, you know, lots of traffic, as you're aware, lots of traffic, and sent me an email today and said, hey, man, you should check your Google indexing because you've got a .txt file sitting on your public web server with a username and password in it that you should probably change. So a fine gentleman, he didn't submit his name, and he used a VPN to do it, to submit it because it showed the IP address, said, hey, you should get rid of this text file with the username and password in it. So a very nice man reached out to me.
It was a test. It was just a test. You were testing to see the tech.
It was not my VPN username and password that I left publicly exposed on my web server. That wasn't it whatsoever.
Maybe he used
and actually, it's your fault.
Account.
It's your fault because
you put it there for me.
Yes, I put it there for you. I shared it for you,
that's why
Brian.
I was saying maybe he logged into your VPN to send you the email.
Well, I changed my VPN password and all is well in the world.
Okay.
Joining me, as he does each and every week, from the great state of Idaho, the freeloader-in-chief, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hey, Brian.
Freeloader-in-chief.
Yeah, you.
I get my free check here.
I give to Brian constantly. It's a gift. Brian, I'm like,
That's
Brian,
true.
Here you go, Brian. Here's my VPN information so you can set up your own. And then I get hacked. It's your fault.
I know. Well, now next time we'll know to just put fake information in that part when you give me a file.
I trusted you.
I know you trust me. I saw the password. I was like, I'm not going to use your VPN password. So, oh well. Well, all right. So let's go ahead. And if you want to find me, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Parler. Of course, if you want to go check out my blog, you can get it at biteoftech.com. That's, of course, with an I. Also, if you want to go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, make sure you go check out on the right-hand side where it says join our server on Discord. If you do that, you can submit news topics. Maybe there's a game you think we should be covering. Maybe an article or a topic has come up in the week that you think would be important for us. Toss that in a news channel, and we will look at it prior to making the show notes. Also, if you want to get a notification before the live show starts, you can do that through join our Steam group. If you have your Steam client open, a little notification pops out right about 5-10 minutes before the show starts, and you can come and join us for the game giveaways and all the different things we do for that. Also, if you want to watch the video forums, we have those on Twitch, on YouTube, on DLive, and on BitChute. Some of those are live during the show, and you can watch them after the fact. If you want to get the pre and post show that we do, those are a lot of times posted by Judd on the Infection Podcast Extras channel. And also we have all the audio forms. So the lower right-hand side, you go through, they have for mobile apps and desktop apps. There's a bunch of different ways to listen to the show after the fact. And if you are doing that, you can follow along with our show notes, now 301 episodes, where we have links and videos and all kinds of things that we reference throughout the show. So if you want to do that, just follow along the show notes. And if you want to support us financially for what will hopefully be PAX in the coming year, you can do that through our support channel or support tab, or through humble.infectionpodcast.com or amazon.infectionpodcast.com, and through Twitch Prime Gaming subs that you'll probably hear going off throughout the show. So thank you very much.
Speaking of that, we've got a whole bunch of new subs in here, including our friends over at XERA. Play XERA. Hit us up with the subscription here on Twitch, as well as Green Man Cartoons. I believe he's now back in the lead at 33 months. So we want to thank those two individuals and a bunch of people that hit us up with the 300th show subs on last week's program. Quick little programming note before we get into a whole lot here, Brian. We've got an exclusive coming up here in a little bit. We've got the Season 3 premiere of XERA, which we have shown pictures. There's been tweets over the past couple of weeks. We've talked about some of the changes, and we've officially got that season update. It will be out here in 2 days. It's out on the 22nd, so Thursday. That will be out and available for people to play. So we'll have that in a little bit, and we also have some key giveaways. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. So we have some keys that we'll give away throughout the show. I'm going to go ahead and open it up right now. So if you want to type ! Giveaway in chat, we're going to be giving away up to 5 copies of XERA throughout the show. So probably what I'll do is see if it'll let me draw throughout the show without having to start over. If it doesn't let me draw without closing and having to end the raffle, then we'll go ahead and just pull one, start up a new list, and then that way people who have entered and didn't win could re-enter again. So we'll see how it goes. I don't remember how this exactly works, but we will be giving those away throughout the show for a copy of XERA.
Very cool. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Brian, we both failed miserably on Friday. We both decided to not.
I don't feel so bad now. No.
You would have left me anyway. I'm glad I also bailed.
I know. That's why I said so I don't feel so bad, because you bailed on me and I bailed on you. It was an equal bailing.
Yeah, but what really happened is we bailed on our audience.
That's true. I thought you were going to be there, so I'm like, oh well, Nick will get it hosted. And
yeah. So we'll talk about this in the next couple of weeks. Of maybe moving the game night or game day or game weekend to more maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, but we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. Real quick before we get into anything else, I have one other housekeeping thing for you here, Brian.
Yes.
So Halloween, of course, is Saturday the 31st. We're not doing a show on the 3rd. We're doing a show on the 4th. So is that going to be our Halloween show? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Or do we need to do it the week before?
The Saturday, the show after Halloween, right?
That's what I'm asking. We do them before or after? It seems to me it doesn't matter. It's equal distant away from each end.
Either way, either way, it's just I need to know when I'm going to be shaving this for it. So
let's do it after then.
Okay. Because I was planning on just shaving it because Halloween's on a Saturday, correct?
Yeah.
Saturday night. So I was going to shave this Saturday in the way that I'm going to do it for Halloween, and then we'll do the. Do you want me to tell people what
no,
I'm going to be?
I do not.
Okay, we're saving it as a surprise.
It's going to be a huge surprise. People, I've already getting press releases. Yeah, people are hounding. My phone is ringing off the hook. People trying to figure out what we're going to be for Halloween.
All right.
A couple of quick news items here before we get into the XERA stuff here in just a little bit. Our boy is back, Brian. Yes. Cliff Bleszinski, the guy from God, what were his games that he came out with? There was that Radical Heights, which was
yes,
terrible. The game it was
Radical
awful.
Heights wasn't terrible. It
was
just
garbage. It wasn't complete. Either assets,
it wasn't
half
complete.
The map was empty.
It definitely wasn't complete. I give you that.
Okay.
But I would say Lawbreakers was complete, but worse.
Oh.
Lawbreakers would just seem pointless. It just seemed like the stupidest game. Like you go in there and you just didn't feel like, in some games, especially Overwatch, for instance, it was kind of people would compare it to Overwatch a lot. You go into Overwatch, he's wearing a shirt even. You go into Overwatch, and when you as a team get to the end, it's like, yes, we did it. We beat them, right? In Lawbreakers, there was never anything that felt like, okay, hey, we accomplished something together. Everybody's kind of just killing each other. You constantly respawn. There's no goal to go for.
Okay. I think I know what you're trying to say, and I'm going to sum it up here.
Yep.
Radical Heights was a more funner game than Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers was the better game. If we look at overall game for the whole thing, the polished
Lawbreakers had polish.
Better game. Radical Heights was a whole lot better. it was a lot of fun.
If people remember, with Radical Heights, they kind of threw it out there. It was a game that they were working on, and I think that they were running out of budget, and they were just like, we got to put out what we have now, see if it really hits. And the thing is, people were playing it, but it was so buggy was the problem that it would just you'd have weird little issues, especially on the bikes and with jumping, and there was just a lot of little issues. But I think for the promise of the game, Radical Heights had much more promise, and I think they could have fixed it and made it a game that people would have played. People like the silly theme. Lawbreakers just was too serious. And if you're that serious with a game, you expect it to be if it's that polished, you expect it to be more like a AAA Studios game, and it didn't feel anything like that. Like if you make it look like something like a Call of Duty or that level of graphics and detail, then people expect the gameplay to be there, and it was not.
So after a couple of flops, just about 2 years ago, November of 2018, Cliff Bleszinski, who was the head of the studio that did Radical Heights and Lawbreakers, said, I did what I did what I can. This is the reason that I am never making another game. This was his claim in 2018. Well, an article has released or come out at GameIndustry.biz, which is one of the trade websites for gaming stuff, and he has announced that he may return to video game development slowly and cautiously.
Yeah. Now, it seems like he's a little bit erratic, because if you look, they make a point of stating, well, first of all, look at the tags at the bottom of this article. You can tell they're being sarcastic. Mature adults acting in mature and professional ways. That's one of their tags. And then this is why we can't have nice things. That's another one of the tags that Massively OP put on here. But if you look at a statement they put in here, he said he first stated that he was going to try and be less of a dick in online interviews before stating he thought gaming journalists could F off.
Well, that's true. See, I will get behind that train. Game journalists can F off. They are the worst. Except not us. Everybody else.
Yes, everyone except for us. And so that because you can tell that these journalists don't like being spoken to like this. So of course that's not how you speak to them before they write the article. You make comments after they write the article about you, before you say terms like that to them. Now, another thing that he said he claimed that Lawbreakers failed due to being too woke back in February. I don't remember anything about the wokeness of Lawbreakers. Now, you and I have memories of Lawbreakers.
There's no way you'd know.
We played a little bit, but we have memories of Lawbreakers from, was it our first PAX? Was this the one PAX in Boston?
Yeah, PAX East 2017.
So 2017 PAX East, we go there and we see giant Lawbreakers sign, bigger than anything else in the whole convention center.
Yes.
A giant Lawbreakers sign. So you're thinking, man, this has got to be a AAA studio. This has got to be the next hit game. Of course, we know how streamers go. During this point when they're getting all this money from a place, that they're like, oh, this is the up and coming game. They all play it. This one had a bigger drop off than almost any others. And I don't know if it's because he maybe doesn't understand the market. He doesn't understand the whole game of getting the big streamers to play, and didn't realize, well, you have to keep paying a few of them to keep playing it, or else all of them are going to quit playing as soon as the money's gone. But people played it at PAX, and then nobody played it. They kept on trying to push this out. There weren't enough people in the lobbies to even queue to play. We all logged in, we're playing, and we were the only reason the lobby started is because we had our group in there playing.
Yes.
And it just wasn't a great time. There was no feeling of we need to go and play this again tomorrow. And we tried to make the most fun of it. I mean, we're all in Discord, we're laughing, joking around. That helps to make it feel like a better experience. But if you're in there by yourself, then you'd be in there being like, I don't feel like playing this ever again, because there's just no enjoyment in it.
Now, Cake Order in the chat says, don't forget that he had Daybreak devs on the payroll. So that's a whole nother.
Well, that is one. That's like pretty much making yourself guaranteed to have a failure in your.
I mean, I don't think I'd go that. I disavow that. I wouldn't go that far. But
can you name any Daybreak hits recently?
Yeah, don't they have a new EverQuest DLC coming out?
Well, we'll talk about that, I guess, if that's your hit. I mean, 27 DLCs in a row. It's only been 27 years.
Hey, they're more consistent than I am alive in terms of years.
It still runs on Windows. It still runs on Windows 95 as well.
Yeah, there you go. So I just thought that I'm glad you put that in there. Rather interesting to see. He might be making a trek back. He is one of the reasons that early access in this whole genre has got a really bad name, I think. And it's not a total hatchet job on him. It's just the reality is he released garbage games, incomplete garbage games, and kind of some of his games are the reasons why early access has such a bad connotation with it. So,
but and also the issue with him is if you look at his history, he had a lot of money from some things he did early on, and so he had a ton of money, and he figured he couldn't fail because, as you can hear in some of his quotes, he has a bit of an ego. Maybe this is brought. It sounds like he's kind of hinting at this has brought him down to be a little bit more humble. But then some of his quotes in this exact interview kind of counter that. But I think it's the problem of him having a bunch of money, figuring if he threw out enough of it, he'd get it to where it'd be successful, and then money would come in to replace all that money he just threw out. The problem is he threw out all the money, absolutely nothing came back, and I figured that's why he probably felt like he was out of it, because he really just blew a ton of money.
Yeah, which is kind of the name of the game. That's the industry. So
yep.
If you want to read a little bit about that, you can read his whole article over at the Game Industry Biz site. Yep. The link for that will be in our show notes on infectionpodcast.com. Let's talk politics here for a minute, Brian. This is not a political show, but there's some politics creeping into video games. I want to start off with Twitch first. A popular Democrat representative, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, put out a tweet yesterday or the day before saying, I want to play some Among Us. Should I create a Twitch channel or something like that? And of course,
doesn't she already have a Twitch channel? I know she plays a lot of League of Legends. I thought she was already streaming once in a while on that.
I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't really dig too far into to her Twitch, but she's playing with a couple of prominent progressive Twitch streamers that are like, that's kind of their identity, is that they're progressive politics. That's kind of what they do on Twitch, including Pokimane and Ilhan Omar, who is another representative who's running for re-election. So rather interesting, Brian, to see. And I'll tell you what, this is exactly how you make inroads with the younger crowd. With the younger crowd. This is exactly how I would do it. You take a hot game like Among Us that everybody is talking about. People are playing it on their people are going to the bathroom at work and sitting on the toilet for an hour playing Among Us on their phones. You take a game that is that hot and that popular, and you're running for re-election, as she is, and then you bring it to Twitch. Now, I'm not sure how many minds are going to be swayed by this. I think she's already incredibly well-known and popular, especially with the younger in touch community that watches Twitch. She's very active on social media, on Instagram and other services. So I don't think she's necessarily going to get a huge boost in name recognition, but good on her, and whoever in her team thought that this was maybe it was just her. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but interesting approach. It'll be interesting to see if of course Ilhan Omar and AOC are both Democrats. It will be interesting to see if any younger Republicans on the other side of the aisle follow suit, and there's a couple of them out there that are relatively prominent. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with. So thought that was rather interesting that we've seen a couple things in the past, and PH says they'll be banned instantly. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me with Twitch's TOS. But with that, we also have a video game essentially endorsing a presidential candidate.
And you thought a yard sign was bad.
Yeah, I did. But Joe Biden now has his own Animal Crossing island. So I don't know. I don't know how this works. But
I've never played Animal Crossing, so I haven't played about like setting up.
I haven't played the new one. I haven't played the new one. I played a couple of the older ones, but yeah. So Joe Biden is now going to have his own island. It is being toured and streamed by a video game podcaster by the name of Greg Miller, who hosts Kind of Funny Games, who, by the way, his profile picture on Twitter is him wearing a Biden-Harris shirt. So, like most others in the video game podcast industry, unable to separate a very polarizing topic from video games, which I know we've got a lot of new people here in the show tonight, but we don't talk about our personal political opinions on this show if we can help it. In this case, we're talking about it because it's prominent, but our identity does not revolve around Joe Biden or Donald Trump on this program, because it's not a political show. It's a survival video game news show. But that's not how some people are doing it. And in this case of Greg Miller and his group, Kind of Funny Games, they are all in drinking the Kool-Aid, and he toured the Animal Crossing island, and that was his big news, that we've partnered with the Joe Biden campaign to be the first to show off the official Biden Island at Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yep.
So, and PH
this is
brings
something
up.
that's.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to mention this is something also. There's skins that are coming in. There's certain games that are putting skins in. Themes for PlayStation, for like Black Lives Matter, things like that. I mean, I can understand with PlayStation doing a Black Lives Matter theme, because
I saw that
a lot of adults, that's aimed at adults. But a game that's primarily kids, pushing something like this, I don't know. I prefer that, especially, if I had children, I would not want them having politics pushed into games that I'm allowing them to play. Things pushed in that I don't know what's, because a lot of parents won't realize that this is being pushed into a game that their kids are playing.
Yeah, and obviously we saw that with Fortnite a couple months ago, and now we're seeing it with Animal Crossing, and the Twitch AOC thing's a little bit different. That's not the craziest, but as we've covered over the past couple of weeks, politics starting to trickle into some different things on the video game realm. All right, Brian, we are about 20 minutes into the program here. Do we have a key to give away? And then maybe we'll...
Yeah, let's go ahead and try this really quick, and we'll see,
all right.
if that's... Cool, good. All right, it'll let me just draw them throughout here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a different one. All right, cool. So congratulations, Shadower. I'm going to go ahead and message you with a key. And so if you just... I assume it'll let me... I'm pretty sure it'll let me message you. If you have some sort of restriction, maybe message me, and then that way I can actually get you the key. But I'll be sending those out as we pull them throughout the show.
All right, let's do it, Brian. We have got we got a message from Joshua and his team this week talking about their big season 3 update, and there's obviously lots of things in here. We've talked about, was it last week or the week before, their Trello roadmap is live, and we went over.
Yep. And I put a link to it in the show notes as well, just so people, if they want to check that out with the dev blog, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah. So we talked about that a couple weeks ago. We looked at some of the different things that are in there. And now, without further ado, we will take a look at the Season 3 trailer for XERA Survival. All right, Brian. Wow. Lots to break down in that trailer there for season 3, which again starts live on the 22nd. So obviously there's the trailer, but there's a lot more than just the trailer that meets the eye here. There was a pretty big dev blog that went out late last week. And I want to hit a couple of the bullet points in that. The first one being, and this is something that you've been pretty critical on in the past, Brian, are of course animations. They've now added a new full-time member to their team that is going to be working with animations, character art, and video FX. So, which you can obviously speak to this better than I can, has a pretty big impact on a game, especially some of the animations and character art. You don't realize how important it is until you see poor animations and poor character art and poor video effects. You go, oh, it's awful.
Well, and that's something that with animations, most people don't realize in a video game, you can code in and say, all right, I want to make something do this. Well, you can program it all in. And then animations is a much more difficult part to just do from scratch. People think, oh, well, you just make the animation do this. It's an art form. It's like saying, draw me a picture. Well, everybody just doesn't go and draw a picture, right? Well, you could draw a picture, but you're going to have very different results in the end. But if you have a really talented animator, and especially because they're going to be putting some different changes into the upcoming versions of Unreal. 4.26 is going to be working on animations, and 4.27, they're really starting to work on implementing different features to character animation. So you'll want somebody who can figure out the ways to take advantage of that to the best and start implementing those changes and not have to rely 100% on the marketplace or because animations, for people that don't do this, you don't just take an animation and place it in here. It has to match your character's skeleton, and there's a lot of details to it to where you really need a competent person doing animation. So this is good. This will allow them to put in a lot of these extra features and actually have the animations that match it and look correct.
Absolutely. So you're seeing just a little bit on those animations there. You can see with these guns, pretty in-depth loading and reloading animations going on there, as well as the firing effects. You can actually see the gun reacting to being shot, which is cool. Not something you see in every game. So that's a quick look at animations in XERA. Other than that, we've got, of course, the roadmap and some of the changes to the timelines. We discussed those in detail within the last couple of weeks, so you can go ahead and look at our show notes. And actually, if you watch on YouTube, there's a little scroll bar at the bottom that breaks up all the segments. So you find the show, scroll to the segment part, and you can just watch that on there. Now, gameplay-wise, one thing, Brian, that I feel a lot of survival games have missed, and I think probably everybody that has played XERA probably is an H1Z1 baby. That's kind of, we all seem to, no matter what, all routes somehow seem to lead back to H1Z1. Don't know how or why or where, but they all lead back to H1Z1. And one of the biggest issues with H1Z1 was there was just nothing to do in the world. There was a lot of great PvP. There was a lot of great PvE, but there were no server events. There were there were those loot chest things that you would grab, those quests. That was it. And those are kind of,
you could do like that. You could have the signal and have an airdrop happen, but still we had a pretty big group, so we weren't really, and the loot caches that really didn't give you too much. They started doing that event with the hospital that allowed you to, kind of get some things, but that never really went anywhere. So I think that was definitely a problem because for us, we made the most of it. We'd focus on base building and then supplies for raiding people. But outside of that, the game didn't really matter as long as we had those base things because there wasn't other things for you to do in the game.
So XERA's taking a different approach to that, and they already had a couple of server-wide events, but they're introducing some new ones. You saw one in the trailer, of course, the helicopter crash, which I don't know necessarily if that's an event, but it's a dynamic point of interest that changes, and it is somewhat of an event. But their big one is the compounds, and we've shown some pictures over the past couple of weeks of some nuclear reactors in the game. And to just look at this real quick, these compounds that are throughout the game, they'll look a little bit something like this. You will now be required to activate 4 generators for the compound, you can see these little wrench icons. Those indicate that there's something that needs to be worked on there. So there's 4 generators for the compounds to be active, each with a chance of failing and generating noise. Of course, noise is going to attract the NPCs, the robots, and they will come running towards that. Once you complete the event, which is powering up those generators, you will produce a radioactive byproduct, which you now will be able to extract from the core of this reactor and can be used to craft certain items. It can also be sold to the trader in game, and it will obviously its value will be determined based on what people are willing to pay for, or however they set the value on that. Now, one of the other things, though, of course, is once you open up this radiation, you now have the option to become radiated yourself. Many other games, when you go to an area that's got high radiation, you will get some of that radiation. So there's now a brand new game mechanic that's going to be in Season 3, and it's called Radiation. It's a core character stat, similar to food and water and stamina. It's a core stat of your character. Obviously, if you're in a zone with radiation, it will build up over time. If it hits a certain level, a certain threshold, it will start dealing damage. Now, in most other games, I presume it's going to be the same in XERA, you can obviously withstand a little bit of radiation, but as it gets higher and higher, it'll deal more damage. Now, they will be adding some protective equipment to that so that you can, maybe stay in a radioactive zone a little bit longer. And then there will also be some medical supplies that will reduce that rad in the future. Now, one of the other new things here, Brian, is the radioactive material, and this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be this looks like a supplement container, like a G Fuel or a protein powder container with your radioactive core in it.
I mean, it just shows you how effective it is,
So you'll be able to.
You only pee blood for 2 days. Don't worry on this one.
You'll be able to extract that, and then of course sell it to the trader or use it in some sort of crafting. So we showed you the animations. One of the other things that is a big portion of games is throwables. And we've shown, I think, a couple of different videos pieced together, but here's the description of a couple different throwables in here, and you can see how they throw and then how they interact with the world once they go off. The first one we're looking at right here is the smoke grenade. And you can see one thing that they're doing interesting, if you notice, I'm going to roll that back there for a second. When you run into the smoke, not only does your screen get obscured by the smoke, but it also plays a smoke animation over your screen. So it is completely blinding. Most games, the smoke is, frankly, kind of lame. It's super opaque. You can see right
it's
through it.
It's very difficult to do good smoke. First of all, we ran into this. Was it H1Z1 that had a lot of issues with replication on smoke?
I think so, but why is smoke so? Can you briefly? Why is smoke so complicated?
So first of all, if you look at the structure of it, it's it's a cloudy kind of. I mean, it's like a cloud floating. If it's something that's dynamic, then that's a lot of information that you have to send back to the server. So that becomes a big problem because there's a lot of, if it's something that's dynamic, there's a lot of little detail there. I mean, there's all of the particles and the way it flows. And the thing is, if you're hiding in that, or if someone is using that for cover, you have to have it be exact, because you want to know the second that you're out of the smoke, and not have it be where somebody seeing you and maybe that's about to shoot you sees you out of the smoke, but you think you're in the smoke. At the same, they could be like being in a bush, but then you're not really in the bush. That is a problem. So here you really need to make it so that that area that is smoke is identical on both players' perspectives. That can be a lot of data. Otherwise, the way to work around that is if you created some sort of a thing that was always the same, then you wouldn't have to really replicate it between the two players. You just say, here's the starting point, but then your smoke's always going to look the same. Will never vary, and then you'll get complaints about that. So it's just very difficult, and we saw problems. I think it was with H1Z1 having issues with replicating their smoke. If maybe it was another game, I don't remember, but that is something that is a pain. And the quality of that smoke I think looks very good and it looks very natural. And so, if it replicates correctly, then I think they pulled it off really well.
Let's take a look at the next throwable here. This is the EMP grenade, the electromagnetic pulse, which you can see there has a little bit of like a black hole looking effect, and then it stuns all the zombies. It stuns anything electronic, and you can see that they are they're getting shocked and they are stunned for a period of time with the EMP. This next one is the gravity pulse grenade, and we can see the animation on this one here. It kind of sucks everything into a black hole, and then that thing kind of explodes. It's a gravity pulse, so it's creating some sort of anti-gravity thing, sucking everything in, and then it explodes after that, and it throws everything, scatters everything about. So that's what we've got on throwables and animations, and we've shown those pictures in the past. One of my favorite things, Brian, is the glow stick. I'm a big fan of that. I really like glow sticks. Glow sticks are super cool. We've got some glow sticks in here now.
Probably Ravernick.
Not even Ravernick. Just I've got a whole bunch. I have like 500 glow sticks always on hand. You never know when you need a glow stick.
Oh, nice. Well, you never know.
Yep. And then we showed the smoke. Bunch of new assets and buildings here, Brian. Let's take a look at a couple of these. We've got some interior, exterior pictures, and then some items just generally placed around the world. So let's start here with an apartment complex here. This is the RW apartment complex. Looks to be 3 floors. I don't know, maybe 2 to 5 suites per floor, something like that in there. You can see that it's got a rooftop here that presumably you'd be able to reach via either a catwalk or through some sort of main shaft here that you can see in the middle. And obviously some various things can go down here on the roof. This looks like it's maybe the inside of that front door of this apartment complex. You can see it's rather dark in there. Here it would be an actual apartment. You can see the little kitchen area, dining room, and then a little living room area in there. Lots of different possibilities and places to loot. This next one here, I believe, is showing off part of their road system, Brian. I couldn't tell if this also might be an airport. I do see some green
okay, so no,
lights.
that's an in editor. Okay, no, that is a spline. Okay. I think that's a spline mark. So in Unreal Engine, when you use a spline, which lets you curve, like for instance, roads or fences, things that are following that spline, they come out as green. So I think he's just mainly showing off here the way that the roads are connecting together, and he can actually make them turn and bend and keep that look of a road and the lines on the side.
Gotcha. So we're seeing that
I'm
there.
pretty sure that's what he's showing off.
Yeah, the roads look good. Everything seems to flow really well. And obviously, this is flat ground, but the roads look to be pretty solid in that regard. Here is I don't think we've ever seen this in a video game before, or at least a survival game. You ever seen a roundabout in a survival game?
Not one that's been published.
So there's a bit of a roundabout here. If this is anything like a real life roundabout, it's bound to be an absolute cluster and a half. Then
one really cool thing about using systems like this to be able to make your roads and not doing them by hand. For instance, one that I worked on, we are able to put lights and mailboxes and automate the whole process of placing those along the road. You can do that because it's a spline. You can make variances and have it be fairly automated and make your roads always look correct, no matter how you move them. So stuff like this does very well. And it allows, for instance, if you have an NPC or something that's driving a bot or an AI that's driving a vehicle, with splines, you can easily have it follow the path and actually go along the road. If you're doing them all by hand, you'd have to figure out another way to make that happen. So, this is the right way to do it. And so I'm glad to see someone using splines and not hand painting all of these.
I'm being corrected. Apparently DayZ has roundabouts, but since I don't play DayZ, I don't know about it. Here's a multi-lane interstate sort of thing. Two full lanes and a turn lane. A pretty large road system there. The church, always a place in my heart for a church. Seems every survival game's got at least a couple good churches.
Everybody's got slaughtered there at some point.
Yeah. So we've got a nice looking church here. Sort of a 50s or 60s style diner. Kind of that cool diner look that you see as you saw. And here a hydro dam by the looks of this, which is a cool point of interest as well. And then finally, some of the elements and aspects of this. It's going to be called the Clearwater Dam. You can see there's some sort of a hydro turbine there in the middle, some sort of water reserve areas or filters, and then some other pieces of heavy equipment as well. So those are some of the new points of interests and different elements that are going to be added to the game, both in Season 3 and then, of course, as we look at the new map going forward. One of the other things is base building. They are working through base building. It is not there yet, but they go through what is going to be happening here. So most of the modular pieces, which will be used in the base building system, have been completed, and they're working through all of the technical elements for implementations of bases, which involves storing all of the persistent data to be loaded and unloaded at runtime, and storing in our master servers. We're also finalizing the overall design of the base building system. This will be detailed in a future dev vlog, and they're going to be working on that. Rating, they say now, rating, of course, will play a huge part in the base building design. Building defenses to protect your base from other players and potentially roaming humanoids. Your base will be vulnerable at all times. Normal defenses will protect against the humanoid raids while you are offline. But when someone is active in the base, more humanoids may turn up. So it's going to be kind of like a heat map sort of system, I guess. Offline bases, the humanoids won't bother. If there's people online roaming around, you'll have that there. With bases, it's really important to make sure it is optimized, because if you remember the issues we would run into in H1Z1 with placeable objects and things where people could place their own things, you would run into some places where there were a ton of bases or even a ton of chests placed on the ground in some of those PvE servers, and it would start to lag people out. So these kind of objects, whenever you allow people to place items and the exact way that they're rotated and where they're placed is very important. All that data, the second that you run in the area for every single placed item that another player has put down, just causes a lot of bandwidth. This is what really killed Miscreated early on. It was this kind of bad networking code for this. So this is something I think is really important, because for our type of group, this is one of the most important. The base building, and then this is the PV. What you can do with PvP on that was some of the most important things to us. And so if they can get this to where we can build as big of a base as we want, within reason, and not have lag issues and things like that'll be great, because I think a lot of them, when they throw these things together too quickly, you run into those issues of lag, and it makes it to where you can barely play, especially when you start throwing throwables. We'd run into this in H1Z1 with especially with the Molotovs. The second someone starts throwing 3 or 4 Molotovs, everybody's frames goes to like 3-4 frames per second, and whoever happens to come out of that first and get a shot off was the one who won the battle. And that's not what you want. Do you remember with the base rating, you would just throw all those gas jerry cans in front of the gate?
We would blow up gas cans.
1 frame a second.
But and all that fire effect would just cause the whole game to come to a standstill.
Yeah, like literally, I'm not exaggerating. Like, 1 frame, literally, like an in-game FPS counter would say 1 frame a second, and it would be unmitigated disaster. Now, one thing that they're doing interesting here, Brian, is that there's going to be a claim system. So once your base, unlike some other games where you just pretty much wipe it down to the foundation, once the base sustains enough damage, it will go into a capture period where you can defend your base, and whoever wins the battle will be able to claim the base as their own. So you not only can lose your base and have to rebuild it, you could also lose its claim and lose the area in which it was built. So that's a rather interesting mechanic there. Bases could be built on multiple servers, allowing you to create an empire of bases, but that would mean an increased upkeep to make sure your bases do not grade or raided by humanoids or other players. So that will be possible. Obviously, you'll be able to do that. So with that being the case, they've made some updates to the map that we have talked about, some pretty big UI improvements that you can see in these couple of screenshots here. And I think we've shown some of these, but there's now a map with a new key showing some of the new things. We've got a couple of those radio towers spread throughout the map, the reactor events, the compound events, If there's a contested compound event going on, you can see all of these different all these different things with the key on the left and how they coincide here on the map itself. Here's the You Are Dead screen. You can see a couple of different things on here, including who you were eliminated by, what they used to eliminate you, how long you were alive, and then some of the spawn options across the bottom of the screen, respawning at a random location, respawn nearby, and then respawn at a safe settlement. And there's some different countdown timers for those various things. The reactor event will be in there. We talked about there'll be radio tower events in there, in which we've talked about. The bunkers have been updated. And then we've got a bunch of new weapons in here. A couple new snipers, the SVD, the Mosin. We've got some knuckles here that you could be punching some people in the face with. Knuckles with barbed wire on them. Knuckles with nails on them. Electric knuckles by the looks of it. Looks like a couple of 15-volt batteries wired together and a little push button. So you can shock somebody. That's pretty neat. We've got some binoculars in the game as well. Some cosmetics, which I don't believe we've seen a whole lot of in XERA.
Yeah, I mean, he had a few. I think he had a few in there.
We've seen some,
but not a ton yet. Yeah,
we've seen some special holiday events. I know around the 4th of July they did some patriotic stuff. But here are some different things here. There are 31 new skins. Here are 2 of them. They've got the Punk and then Justice, which is an American eagle throwing a grenade. Which, I mean, screams justice to me. And then they discuss the leaderboards, of course, on here, and then they show a drone skin here. Those who placed in the top 25 of any of the 3 leaderboards in Season 2 will be granted the Imperial drone skin. So that is it, Brian. This is a massive update for XERA. Of course, the roadmap is in here, and you can see with a lot of transparency, at least what the plan is in the future. And the thing to remember with a roadmap is it's not set in stone. It's a general idea of what they would like to accomplish, or what anybody would like to accomplish before the next season. Some things work, some things will work, some things won't. But it's nice to be able to look at this and see, here's all the stuff in Season 3, which will be out here on the 22nd. Here's all the things in Season 4, including base building, new vehicles, the new map, and then even into Season 5, some of the things that are going on in there. So lots of really cool stuff coming up here in XERA, and I want to thank Joshua and his team for giving us the opportunity here to be the first to show you that trailer here on Infection. So with that,
all right, do you want to do another giveaway here really quick?
You read my mind, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and draw another one here. So congratulations, X Bravo. I will send you a message here in a few minutes with your key.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you very much, X Bravo, longtime fan of the show. All right. Ubisoft. I believe we talk about this maybe last week or the week before, that there was a potential breach at Ubisoft. Do we have?
Yeah, and then
got some more details.
Now data is starting to show up on the ransomware's place's site, because there was if I remember correctly, I think that there was a report of a breach, but then supposedly, did they say that there was nothing important that really came out of it? The problem is now data is being posted on this ransomware website, and they're not really sure exactly how the information was obtained. So they know that data is out there, but they don't know which breach or how it was breached exactly. Now this is something where they've been leaking it out. I'm assuming this is kind of a proof. They'll probably be asking for some sort of money or something once they feel like Ubisoft is convinced that they have data that might be important to not get out. But this is something where they've grabbed a whole bunch of files. There's group shared files that were supposed to be in the company, with source code and things like that. Production plans, meeting, information,
minutes.
Yeah. So just information that might be talking about upcoming games or unreleased data that they probably just don't want people knowing. So I'm sure a lot of this is just kind of very generic information that doesn't really matter, but there might be something that they really want to keep secret. So this is something that they said Crytek has been fully encrypted. So I'm not sure, if this looks like it was maybe from shared folders, from what I'm gathering, where if you have access to the file system, you can copy those out of that, and the encryption isn't going to matter because they're logged in. It's not like they externally grab somehow data off of an encrypted drive, because then it would be encrypted. So it looks like they gained access to a shared folder in the network, downloaded everything they could, and now this is that information. So if they can track down where these files came from, they could probably go look at that folder internally in the network and have a pretty good idea of everything that this group has. So
yeah,
we will see.
The one good news I will say is this appears to, as you said, Brian, some sort of shared drive, a corporate shared drive. So it's not anything. I mean, there's not, people's credit cards and passwords are not stored in clear text on shared drives inside of they're not even stored on a shared drive inside of a company. So fortunately, it just seems more, there's some assets possibly in here, but nothing that's, it seems like a lot of administrative stuff. Again, meeting notes, planning presentations, seating plan. There's literally seating plan 2013 04.22.xlsx. So an Excel spreadsheet with the seating plan. So nothing super crazy, but nevertheless, either somebody internally leaked this or they've, Brian, I would never do this. Somebody may have had this available publicly. I don't know what kind of jackass would have
probably just sitting on their web folder here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you'd have this stuff on a site that's indexed by Google, but I mean, there's idiots out there. I mean, I would assume there's some idiots out there that do things like that.
That would maybe do something silly like that.
do something as stupid as that. So maybe that's the fact over at Ubisoft. So good news, nothing on the customer side. Because I mean, I've had a credit card on Uplay at some point, but it doesn't appear that any of that stuff is.
It doesn't seem like it's a database dump, which is the bigger concern, because that can have all kinds of information in it.
Yeah. Let's talk about New World. We mentioned Daybreak earlier. Of course, a lot of the Daybreak folk are over at Amazon working on New World with Smedley.
Yeah.
What do we have? What do we have from them?
First off, they're kicking off their alpha test period again. So they are resuming that. This was announced today. On here, first of all, some of the things that they are working on that are going to be in this alpha that have changed. The spear is a new melee weapon offering long distance pierce damage and some range capabilities. Scales primarily on dexterity. Remember, this is an MMO, so stats and those type of things really matter. So your spear scales with dexterity, but also can be benefited from strength. They have the zoner skill tree for this, which specializes in keeping enemies at a distance and throwing spears from range. If you remember correctly, with this game, New World, you don't pick a class. You don't say, I am going to be this exact character. You level up skills on the character, and then that way you end up picking what could be a class. You could really mess up and pick a few things from everything and be nothing that does a little bit of everything. Or you could specialize to be a healer, a tank. For here, this would be a range DPS type of character. They also so that's the zoner skill tree. They're also doing the impaler skill tree, which specializing in being close up, working with the spear and being able to do quick close attacks. They have a new quest line for the legendary spear called the Heaven Splitter that they're putting in this. They have per weapon cooldowns now, provides more options in combat and makes weapons selection even more valuable. Each weapon will now have an independent cooldown, meaning that you can use all three abilities on your hatchet and then switch to your warhammer and use all three of its abilities. So it's separating those to where each attack of it has a cooldown. So you can, maybe you're dual wielding something, you can switch back and forth. Weapon switching is sped up by enabling you to more easily switch between weapons and create combos between them. And now you can also dodge roll without stamina after being struck in multiple consecutive reactions. So they're adding a way that you can kind of get out of being killed if you've run out of stamina. Abilities interrupted or canceled before the inactive frames of an attack will no longer be on cooldown. So if you get interrupted during an attack, don't get to complete the attack, it doesn't kick that cooldown in. I should still be able to do it. So that was weapons and skills. For balance, the hatchet, they reduced berserk, reduced to 10 seconds, berserking enhanced, reduced to 2 seconds. Cold the weak, changed to the heavy attack. Rejuvenating kills, reduced to 5%. Relentless kills, or relentless fury, reduced to 5%, and then reduced homing on second and third light attacks. And that's with the hatchet attacks. They have a life staff that you can get. They've tweaked that some. Now, backstab, they've said any melee attack that hits an enemy's back now gets backstab bonus damage. So kind of like the rogue type of player. If you can sneak behind, hit them from behind, you'll get a bonus damage on that. All melee weapons currently have a 1.3 times backstab bonus damage. This will be tuned per weapon in the future. I'm assuming they'll probably get some sort of rogue specialty weapons that maybe get a 2 or a 3x damage. So they use those. And backstabs no longer cause knockdowns. For the world experience, housing will now display the following. There's a decoration score. So I guess if you make your house look really nice, it'll tell you, how much decoration you have. I don't know. That seems kind of odd. Also, there's a number of items you have placed. So if you put a bunch of in there, it'll say you have 10 items in your house, and the maximum count on the decoration UI. AI, they put in a new threat system for this, adjustments to make enemy targets more understandable and controllable. Introduced a new threat system where single threat value is calculated per player. Higher threat greatly increases the chance to be selected as the enemy's target. This really leads into tanking. You got to have something like this for your tank, because your tank needs to hold threat while everyone else is doing damage or healing. They created logic for how the threat's calculated. Current damage and threat perks are the main determined, but specific attacks to add or remove threat in the future, that would be specialty attacks by a tank that just pull more threat to keep them on them. Healing does not affect threat generation. This will change for life staff users soon. So I'm assuming what they're saying is currently healing pulls a normal amount of threat. It's not a reduced threat, but they're going to probably put it in that life staff. If you're using that healing staff, probably will reduce your amount of threat, so you're not pulling attack from the NPCs. Then they work on some of the economy and progression. So progression, they've reduced the XP players get from a number of different things. So I think they're really trying to slow down the leveling experience. Probably what they did is they increased the speed for the initial test that they did, and then lowered it now so that people can get a better idea, and they can get a better idea of what the long, more spread out leveling works like in this game. They changed attributes a bit, increased the attribute pool to add a meaningful amount of gear, and introduced diminishing returns to increase build variety. They increased the amount of attribute points you get from leveling, because they're making it slower, but they want you to get more so you don't feel like you're weak for the first half of the game. They added attribute points to the gear. They adjusted focus attribute to the primary scalar for life staff. It no longer affects cooldown rate. And then they said their long-term goal is to have focus be the attribute for healers / support characters, while intelligence becomes the attribute for damage dealers and mages. Gems no longer give attributes, but instead provide elemental damage for weapons and family banes for armor. And then diminishing returns were added to all attributes. They changed some of the gear, adjusted level requirements and rarity mappings for gear in preparation for a strong end game gear chase. They don't want to give you the best gear. This is what WoW did really well. They give you a base set. They've kind of lowered that a little bit in WoW lately, but they give you a decent piece of gear. But then if you want really good gear, you're doing raids and you're doing all these big group activities to get the best pieces of gear. And it's actually a lot of work in the end. And that's what draws people to these MMOs. Gears now has a specific level requirement. Previously, all gear was from a tier was usable at a single level threshold. The level requirements of a piece of gear is based on its score. Higher rarity gear has a lower level requirement than lower rarity gear with the same gear score, making it more valuable. But rarity mappings changed so the legendary gear can be crafted and dropped from the world. And then gear perks, the final thing. 16 new perks were added to the game. 9 perks that reduce the weight of specific classes of items. For example, reduce the weight of raw and cooked food on a specific piece of gear. And then 7 perks that affect your threat generation, which I would assume be for tanks, but also for DPS and healers to reduce their threat generation. So that's what they're doing in this test. So hopefully, it sounds like they're trying to make something to where people can start testing the grouping aspects. Everything was before seemed to be, it was just for individual play for the alpha, people creating a character, leveling it up a bit. And now it looks like they're going for, all right, you level up, get in a group, do some whatever content they have for groups where you need a healer, you need a DPS, you need a tank, and testing out those to make it an actual MMO. So this would be one that if you have a group of people playing, definitely be the test to start with, because you can actually start focusing on a role and then seeing how that balance works currently. And make sure you give feedback too, because I'm assuming that's where they'll have plenty of ways that you can give feedback on this.
You don't really think about it. At least I don't, because I've never been an MMO player. All of the things that go into an MMO. I mean,
yes.
And then I look back at some old MMOs like Phantasy Star Online. These games are from and obviously that's nowhere near as advanced as New World, but that PSO came out in like 1998 or 7. I mean, MMOs are incredibly complex.
Yes.
And it's, and not that other games aren't, but it's a different level of complexity with all of the different buffs.
This is something that
balancing.
Well, and this is something with WoW. I remember that what really made me enjoy it the most back when it was a little bit more difficult. There was certain gear that took me 3 or 4 months to get, and that was playing every day for hours. 3 or 4 months to earn that piece of gear. That was the rarity that they put on it. And when I would walk into the main city wearing that gear, like people would run up to me just to inspect it and look at it. You know what I'm saying? That is the kind of thing that
we're not worthy.
You know what I'm saying? That for an MMO player, that is the draw. And I think when they make it too easy, they go to where that now you can get it through game passes and you can get it through just buying it and things like that. It kind of it took away from what was the real draw to these type of games, the earning of it. And I think if you look at H1Z1 had a really big hand in kind of making this not feel right for me, because you had to buy everything, right? I mean, everything cost you pretty much money unless you randomly got something. And it really took away the, hey, I respect you because you're wearing that, because I know how hard it was for you to get that. To it didn't really matter. Like, okay, I don't respect you because you spent $1,000 to get that stupid skin on crates. You know what I'm saying? That I just that didn't earn my respect. For some kids it did, but it didn't for me. I respected the fact that I saw somebody that was either got a very rare drop, maybe a mount that only one other person has ever gotten on that whole server before, or maybe a piece of gear that I know the rarity of it is so high, you had to run that instance 100 times to get that piece.
That's what Firebomb says. You would take months doing the same dungeon over and over to get that one damn shield. Times have changed,
and they don't do that anymore. But the thing is,
I understand why they don't do it anymore.
We love that game.
Yeah, but you wouldn't love it now. I guarantee you. You're a hypocrite.
No, I don't have the time for it.
No, exactly. You're an adult.
But at that time, I loved it. And if the magic of what that hopefully New World is able to figure out is how do you make it hard enough to where it feels like, you get that gratification, that burst, that burst of, oh, that was great. I earned that. But to where they don't feel like you're giving it away. They've got to figure out enough time to put in to where you're not having to dedicate your life to it, 8 hours a day, but you still put that value in your heart on that piece, and other people see value in it as well.
Did you ever play Destiny?
Yes, I do play Destiny, actually.
Okay, so Destiny I would consider Destiny a new age MMO. No?
Now, in a certain way, they do base their drops are 100% randomized as far as the stats. You go into certain instances and you'll get a higher level item, right? It'll be better, but the drops are incredibly random. Like all the stats on there are randomized. They don't even always make sense. They're not predetermined that this kind of stat's going to go here and this kind of stat's going to go here. So there is a lot of not necessarily they throw a ton of gear at you in that game, to where there's not a, hey, that person has that one piece of gear. A lot of times people won't even realize in Destiny what a good piece of gear is and what's not. You may use it and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I've got one that on paper doesn't look that good, but the thing, when I go into a PvP in Destiny and play with it, dude, the thing is just amazing. But no one else knows that. That's the problem, is no one else knows in Destiny. You can't really tell if what the other person has is truly amazing all the time, like you could in WoW. Like WoW, they would make very unique pieces that it had a certain look to it. And so it wouldn't be random to where, some other person with a low version of it looks the same as the person with a really nice version. You have to make it to where when someone walks in with that is special and you know it. And they don't do that with Destiny. That's kind of the downside for me.
But Destiny is incredibly popular and incredibly mainstream.
Yeah. Yes. And so they have all the aspects of it, keeping it in a you can go do, and I've done raids with people in Destiny. So it has that kind of a feel. One thing I like about Destiny is the difficulty level of some of the raids that most people never get to. There's a lot of puzzle to it. WoW early on was all about puzzles. Destiny has puzzles in it for some of the boss fights, more than WoW does now. WoW has gotten away from a lot of that. But what Destiny is probably currently one of the closest things to an MMO that we have, of new
mainstream
things that have come out. Yeah, of mainstream games that's an MMO. We'll see if New World can pull that off, but I'm not sure 100% yet if they'll be able to do it.
Well, that's interesting. I feel like I would love playing an MMO, but I know in reality I wouldn't. So I don't. I just
Tara, she's been playing WoW with me lately, and she's been really enjoying it. And so,
well, yeah, but I mean that makes sense. She probably enjoys playing the game, but she also probably enjoys the fact that she's playing with you. So,
well, no, she'll even play by herself now. She'll go off and play when I'm not. But the thing is she liked Destiny. She really enjoyed Destiny, so she enjoys that style.
Never played Destiny.
I played a little. Try. I mean, it's free. It's free now. I played it.
I played on Stadia,
mostly on console by myself, and just tried it out. And then I got to where I really enjoyed it, and started doing a few raids, and then got pulled off doing other stuff. But it is probably one of the closest things to get you into it without giving your whole life up to play an MMO.
I think I'm going to go buy Stadia Premium so I can play it.
Yeah. That's true. Well, and I don't know if I do that. You could just go onto your Xbox or your PlayStation and play the.
But
now
but would it be Google
they have
Stadia?
free up to a certain point. Oh, I mean, yeah. If you want to try Google Stadia, good luck. One thing I was going to mention, Firebomb did point out. He says the transmog system killed WoW. That's the system that allows you to make any piece of gear look like something you've collected already. So people, the gear that they're wearing may not even be, they can get one random piece of really rare gear from a couple expansions ago, and then they can make their gear always look like that no matter what piece they have.
Would you say that they are catfishing?
What I think it's doing is taking away the value. It's making it to where people don't really care anymore. They're going for a specific look, and the new players don't really know what's special and what's not anymore, right? Because people have all these really cool looks. It used to be per expansion, they could get people to think a certain look is special because in that expansion, you only get certain gear looks. And then at the very end game, you get a really cool looking version of all that. So when you would walk in with that, they'd be like, oh, like that's different than the rest that I've seen up until this point. That looks a lot better. So then you would know something is special. Now that you can make a piece of gear look like almost anything, how would new players know? They don't know what's special and what's not. It's just a bunch of gear at that point.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of a downside. It's cool that they, it's kind of a cool feature. You can make it look like anything. Like for instance, in WoW, I just got like a laser rifle or something for my engineer. I like the piece of gear, and my current weapon is better than that one. So I could make my new weapon look like that if I wanted to. That's nice. but I think there was a downside too that really killed it for the hardcore player.
Well, there you go. Little MMO 101 crash course.
Yes.
Let's talk about our Lord and Savior here for a minute, and that is Mr. Gabe, the Mr. Steam himself. The Valve president is apparently he apparently is moving to New Zealand, and there were some questions as to whether he is going to move a studio in Valve, or maybe move the entire company's official headquarters over to New Zealand. None of that appears to be true. He talked with a news outlet in New Zealand and said, I don't have a meeting lined up with the Prime Minister of New Zealand to discuss a business move, and Valve does not currently have plans to open an office in New Zealand, which isn't to say that it wouldn't be a bad idea. It's just not something that we're working on. So apparently he is just moving to New Zealand. The company, nothing company-wise is moving there. And he's been there since March. He's just now applying for residency and citizenship. Now, in New Zealand.
I think, was it last week that I made my prediction that it's possible he might be retiring, and that would possibly open up the door to maybe Microsoft purchasing Steam?
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a hint that he may be getting ready to retire?
Well, I mean,
you think he's going to keep in it?
Well, he can quote unquote retire from being, I don't know what his role is, the CEO, the COO, the owner. I don't know what his actual title is.
I can look and see what he is.
But I mean, I'm sure he doesn't have a lot to do with that stuff anyway.
I'm sure he's just doing meetings and discussing things with people at a very high level.
And he's a decision maker at the end of the day. But I mean, he's not cracking open an IDE to work on Steam CDN like he was 20 years ago.
So he is the president of Valve. This is current.
Okay, so he's the president of Valve, which means he's not even the CEO. You typically have a president and a CEO and a COO. And most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, the president is more of a figure. That's not saying they don't do anything, but in most of the time, your CEO or your COO is the one actually running the company. It's not normally the president. Typically.
Well, and his net worth currently is about $4 billion. So
holy crap.
He doesn't really need to do anything.
No, he doesn't.
So but at what point,
damn.
Other than you enjoy, being a part of the company and everything, he can do whatever he wants. I mean, he could spend $1 million a day, for the rest of his life and probably be being all right, maybe with some money in his pocket.
Maybe they should stop charging developers 30%. I mean, that's just.
Well, you always wonder. People would say, but if he didn't charge 30%, he'd go out of business. Oh wait, he's got $4 billion. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, well, that's not here nor there. So Joshua, who is definitely not biased at all, says New Zealand is a great place to retire.
Yeah, I mean, and now the thing is PH is pointing out, he says, according to the internet, it sounds like he wants to move the studio there. Another article that I saw was kind of stating that, hinting at it.
I mean, if he moves to the country, of course he'd want to open an office. Why would you not? I mean, you're the president of the company.
But it doesn't sound like he's going to do that.
Oh, do you know the disaster it would be, and the headache it would be to move the company's corporate being from the United States to New Zealand? That would be that would be so much of a lift. I mean, I don't foresee that to be the case. They are a US-based company.
I think once the COVID kind of passes, the threat of that everybody's so scared and people are not wearing masks everywhere anymore. I think at that point, because for him it probably feels like a paradise, because as Joshua, who's from New Zealand, is pointing out, their COVID cases are incredibly small there. There's practically no cases. And so for him, it feels like safety. He can go do whatever he wants during the day. Everyone else is feeling locked down. He's hearing about all these things that they're having to go through. So yeah, it seems like it probably once the COVID threat passes a little bit more, then it'll be like, okay, well, there's not really a serious reason to move them to New Zealand. Just because
he might want to stay there, but
he could stay there, and he could do everything. I'm sure he could do all of his tasks in his job remotely.
He's been doing it since March.
It wouldn't make sense. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to move everyone else there as well.
Agreed. So that is a little bit of news about our Lord and Savior, Gaben.
Yes. So hopefully we'll see where that goes.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and let's talk really quickly about Epic Games. We got to make our money somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're allowing refunds for players who got the Fortnite NFL skins. Now, that was where you could get skins for your favorite team. But now, since of course we've had everybody's getting woke, and we don't like Indians, I guess they're allowing refunds because some of these teams they've changed the names.
Only
right?
one.
Well, Kansas City.
They haven't changed their name.
The Chiefs. Some of them are questionable. One of them changed already. I think others have been discussing.
Yeah, it's called the Washington.
Now that those skins will have changed, they're rather than just changing the skin and saying deal with it, they're allowing people to get a refund. And then you won't have the skin anymore.
Wow. Thank God.
That very strange, but hey, one thing that I found interesting about this whole topic once it came up, once they said we need to change all these teams, the actual Indian group that was named that was like, well, we're really proud of that name.
And then the NFL, and then the NFL was like, we don't really care about you, we care about our PR. Shut up.
Yeah,
and that was essentially
it's like the Redskins. They're like, well, we're proud of that name. It's like a warrior name. That's something that we think is good. And I guess the NFL doesn't care.
Yeah, their opinion doesn't matter. Well, thank God.
The Native Americans' opinions don't matter. It's about us being woke, and we got to make sure everybody knows it. So,
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll have to log on to the Epic Game Store and get my money back here from my Washington football team, as they are now called. Fantastic name. Let's now, Brian, we are within the spooky season. We're just a couple of weeks away from Halloween. By the way, are you coming to my Halloween party?
No, sorry, I'm throwing. I've already got one that we're throwing. So I don't have time to fly out beforehand.
Competing.
Hey, do you want me to do a quick game giveaway here, really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep with the time.
Let's get. Yeah.
All right,
let's do it.
So let's go ahead and we'll draw one more here, and I don't know why. Oh, he must have re-entered. Can only enter once. Just kidding. That's really weird. All right, here we go.
Hey,
Wild Dodo 2. Wild Dodo 2, you have won a copy, so I will send you. And he was after we drew the first one, he was sending messages in here fake saying, he won. Well, actually won for real this time. So
yeah,
congratulations.
Yes. Thanks for being a winner. Such a winner, Amnon. So as I mentioned,
too much.
Yeah, you're gonna get tired of it. We're in the spooky season here, Brian, and we've had some lackluster Halloween updates thus far. Miscreated is the only one that's done anything thus far that we've talked about. It's actually in the game, and now Red Dead Redemption is doing one as well. They are kicking off their Halloween thing here with their zombie mode. So let's watch a quick little trailer here of Red Dead Redemption 2's, or actually Red Dead Redemption Online's Halloween Pass. Okay, so I'm a little disappointed that that's the quality of video coming out of Rockstar. That sucked.
Yeah, but are they really making that much money off of their Red Dead Online?
Then don't do a trailer. No. Okay. This is not an indie studio. This is one of the largest video game developers and publishers in the world. And no narration, shitty stock music, and just that was awful.
Really quick, like close up animation, like of the characters, so you don't have to really make a scene.
Garbage.
Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just
think that they're
Scum.
putting
Every
minimal-
single video that Scum does is 10 times better than this.
better than that. Yeah.
Rockstar spent what, $500 million on this game, and this is their 31-second trailer. It's unexcusable. Why even release one? Just put out a press release and call it a day. This is a terrible representation of your product. This video, not in any way, shape, or form, makes me want to play anything, want anything to do with this game, because it's a crappy trailer. Why? Why would you even release this?
One thing about Red Dead Online kind of being a flop for the most part, I would personally prefer them to make a DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2, the game. Like make something that expands that story, and I would actually pay for that. I personally don't care anything about the online, just because to me it just doesn't feel fun. When I've tried it, it's really janky and it just doesn't feel right. I would rather see the base game get some sort of a Halloween something, have a set of quests that you add to the base game that are Halloween themed. Do something like that, and I would get excited. But the online, I just don't know anybody who plays it.
Isn't this a great opportunity to do it though? You don't have people enthusiastic about your online, so you come out and you kick down the door and say, "Welcome back, bitches! It's been 3 years. Here we are, Red Dead Online Halloween update." Instead, what we get, instead we get this: a bunch of guys dancing in a saloon and a cowboy looking back and forth with a knife. What is this? PH said, "Is this a fan-made trailer?"
I mean, it looks like
it's terrible. And again, I don't know why. I don't know why they would have wasted their time with this. Nothing about this makes me want to play it. Nothing, and now we're crapping all over it.
Yeah, they've done a really bad job with Red Dead Online. If you look at GTA Online, it could be much better as far as the fluidity between.
It is. I'm being dead serious. It's perfect. It did exactly what they wanted to do. It is perfect.
Well, yeah, but there's not fluidity like you need, and Red Dead needs to have more fluidity than GTA, because there's not enough variety between the modes. Like in GTA, you can have one where you're racing cars, another one you're racing jets. Just there's all kinds of variety to it. This one doesn't. And the way that you get to do one quest versus the other just seems like such a pain, and there's no natural flow. The queuing system, for the little battle, PvP areas they have aren't that great. It's just, for this type of a game where you're riding horses and there's not a ton of variety, you need to create a better system for going back and forth between them, because it just feels so janky. Or if I spawn into online, kind of like GTA, you've got some guy who's using a glitch to make him be able to shoot you from halfway across the map on his horse, and you see him zip by. It's just a bunch of stupid stuff happening. Too many hackers. It's just all the ingredients for having a flop were there with Red Dead Online, and it just didn't seem fun. So I think they've got to either pull back from it and start putting content into the base game, or fix online, like the way that it flows together, to make it to where people enjoy playing it.
Or just release GTA 6.
It's horrible. Yeah, I mean, that'll fix it too. Have its own GTA Online that's a separate product, to where they're not doing it per version of the game.
Yeah. Well,
so where then you can fix it and do whatever you want and not rely on the individual expansions.
So that is that. Red Dead Online Halloween. Joshua did mention that their XERA update for Halloween is coming next week. I'm sure we'll have a couple more, but as of right now, it's I forgot, Overwatch, which we'll talk about, Miscreated, and Red Dead. I think are the only three that have actually released stuff that is out and playable now.
Call of Duty.
By the way, I want to mention this. I played the new Call of Duty.
Yes.
I played there was a private beta or a closed beta a couple weeks ago for PlayStation pre-orders or something like that, which I wasn't going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess there was an open beta all weekend, and I just really wasn't around and had no interest. But then I was scrolling through Twitter when I got home from work yesterday, and I saw that it got extended, and I was like, all right, I'll download it. So I downloaded it and played it. I like it. It was a lot of fun. I haven't played COD in a while. Brian, I was just getting back in the kick of playing video games somewhat regularly. Then I moved, and it is just I've been here since July, I think.
Yeah.
I probably can count on two hands the amount of times I've actually played a game since I've moved, just because there's so many other things to be working on. But it was nice to jump in there and play COD. The time period is really cool. The weapons are neat. A couple of the maps I played on are really cool. They've got some interesting game modes. I was kicking ass. I went like 38-9 in the first or second game I played. I was in there just slaying people as a level 1. I mean, it was just filthy. But that's coming out the 13th of November. That will be out. So looking forward to that. It's going to have a Warzone style thing. Of course, it's multiplayer, and because it's a Black Ops game, it will have hopefully a pretty decent zombies mode, which has been a staple of the Treyarch Call of Duty games since.
The only one I really played was the World War II one,
which sucked. That one was not good.
That's the only one.
Get this next one.
Yeah, I'll get that one and try it, because that's one thing is I played that one, did zombies for a bit. It was interesting, but it was really chaotic. I don't know if that's how they all are.
The older ones were better, but the multiplayer on this felt really good. They've made some pretty significant changes to the UI and how things kind of feel and look. It's got it's sleek and modern, which is nice. I only played it for maybe 3 hours, so take that for what it's worth. But I had a good time with it. I played pretty well with my old video card here, my 1070. So yeah, just thought I'd bring that up.
Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and talk. Well, do you want to talk about Overwatch and play their trailer really quick? So they have their Halloween event, and they're going to be doing their Halloween Terror 2020. This goes from the 13th. So it started a week ago. It goes through the 3rd of November. So if you're interested in getting some of the specialty loot boxes and things, you'll need to between now and then. And of course, here we have a trailer which will show off some of the things that they're adding in this, and hopefully maybe some of the rewards. So we'll see.
Oh, this'll be good.
Heroes beware. Legendary terrors emerge from the shadows. The scientist cursed by the moon. The Vulpine shapeshifter, 1,000-year-old soul.
Yeah. Are you frightened?
A nautical specter, forever lost at sea. Frightful. The vengeful spirits of two brothers, haunted by their pasts. Easily scared. Spine-tingling tricks and treats await.
You're just a glitch in the system.
You're not scared, are you?
And shocking horrors, courtesy of Dr. Junkenstein. New heroes answer the call.
It's all coming up. Exploding!
Try not to get yourselves killed out there. And join in the fight against the Mad Doctor's most twisted surprises yet.
He's alive! He's alive! Ladies and gentlemen, my latest creation!
Bob, do something!
Will you survive?
Classics. I love that movie.
There we go. New skins. Looks like new skins.
That is the difference between caring when you make a video and not caring. These are two similarly sized AAA studios. Activision / Blizzard, which is larger, I get it, but they're in the same ballpark as Rockstar. They've got the same resources available. Rockstar mailed it in, released a shitty product. Overwatch made a 2-minute movie. Overwatch, it just puts them to shame. That's how it's done. Good work. And that, you know what, Brian? You know what the difference is? It makes me want to actually play Overwatch. And I probably am going to actually download Overwatch and play it.
Yeah. And this one, they have a little bit of a different, I don't know if you remember, I think last year we played this Dr. whatever, not Frankenstein, but whatever.
Oh yeah, that was cool. I remember that.
Where you'd have NPCs that were attacking, and they'd be waves of them. So they have a specialty mode that's not usually in there. So that was a lot of fun because it wasn't the normal our group versus your group. We pulled in a group, played against waves of NPCs, and it gives you a little bit different experience than what this usually is at Overwatch. So try it out. This will be going through November, the beginning of November. So you'll have a couple of weeks here to actually get some. Unlike most of these, like we mentioned before, where they give you a day or two notice, say, "Hey, Thursday, Friday, we're doing a special event that ends, Saturday morning at 9 a.m." And they don't give you any time to actually do it. So this one, you get a little time to play and maybe get some of those custom skins through all the crates that they drop.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and download that. I misspoke. There's another game that released an update. It is they just released it today, so that's why it's so new. But this is for ASTRONEER. They're calling this the biofuel obtainment operation, or the BOO update.
Boo.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
That's a stretch. They're like, how do we make this update Halloween? Well,
obtainment.
Boo.
So there is a new plant species that has been detected, which are capable of generating potential biofuels. So there's that's on there. There's a dangerous hazard that apparently is protecting that plant. There are a couple of event rewards, including the Hollowed Helm hat, and these are all for completing different stages or different things. The Endless Visor, the Pumpkin Shelter module, and then randomized recurring rewards at the end of the event. And then they've got some new items in the store here. They've got a Hocus Pocus hat, a Crystal Ball visor, Creepy Crow, another Hocus Pocus hat, a Peek-a-Boo, which is an emote, a jump scare emote, and then some new palettes as well as a couple of other bug fixes. But again, another long-running Halloween update. This is starting actually yesterday, the 19th, and it runs all the way through. It's weird. It stops. It says, this must be wrong. It says Monday, November 30th. I can't imagine it's going to run for an entire month, and some. So, but I guess it's possible. Maybe there's a misclick there, but I guess that's true. So yeah, this will be running at least for the next couple of weeks, possibly the next month and a half or so, for the BOO update for ASTRONEER, which is a really, really fun game.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk really quickly about Xbox Game Pass, because I've been making my predictions on Xbox. There's more games coming to Xbox Game Pass, and one is a studio that's bringing their games. So they're getting a trio of Double Fine LucasArts classics. Ones that I'm really looking forward to. First of all, Day of the Tentacle. Now, this is probably before your time. This is my late 90s, early 2000s gaming here. And that has Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, Day of the Tentacle. I know some of them. And then a couple other games as well. I think they're going to probably be adding that. But this is another studio that's coming in. This is not huge games, but they are a lot of fun. This is back when they put a lot of time into adventure games, so there's a lot of puzzles, and actually took you weeks to beat a game, not a couple afternoons. So this is going to be on there. Also, they're going to be putting in Rainbow Six Siege. So that'll be added to the Game Pass as well. So for people that are interested in that, we will see. The hint that they did is they showed a big castle with a rainbow going over it, and that people were sieging the castle. So that's kind of your hint that Rainbow Six Siege is coming to Game Pass.
That's a big one. That game is still very popular.
Yeah. I think that they're realizing that the console war is a losing long-term war.
Yes.
The hey, people gave Epic a hard time about this exclusivity, or at least with the Game Pass, having all these titles, because the Game Pass is starting to get some exclusivity. I've been seeing hints that so with some of these studio purchases that Microsoft's been doing, they're not going to be releasing everything on PlayStation anymore like these old studios did. So they're realizing that the exclusivity game works. They want to be the Netflix of video games. I think that they're probably one of the best suited to be able to pull it off. And get away from the console and create the platform where you subscribe to the video games. Oh, sure, we have a device that you can play them on as well, or you can play them on your PC. I think that they're going for being the Game Pass as their primary revenue source for gaming like this.
Yeah,
and it may work. I mean, look at Netflix.
Exactly. I would tend to agree with that. We mentioned a little bit earlier on, Brian, speaking of MMOs, Everquest, they have got a new expansion out there, 27th to be exact.
Kramit is excited. He's the one person in our group.
Doesn't Falcon play it?
I don't know if he plays it anymore. I know he has played it. So,
so, and I mean, it's we're not really going to go into it all that much. It's going to be out next. Actually, no, it'll be out tomorrow. It'll be out the 21st, and that's it. It's their 27th expansion. So, just bring that up. It's sometimes potentially relevant.
What's odd about this is that the technology and the graphics and all that stuff has not improved since the original. So like it's just as crappy graphics, it's just as junky of a UI as pretty much early on in its development. Yeah, people are still buying all these expansions.
Hey, people like what they like. To me. Yeah, I mean, you like what you play. Speaking of Destiny 2, there's an article here over at PC Games N that one of the major groups that were distributing and selling Destiny 2 cheats has been given the old cease and desist, as we've become to see with cheaters and fan remakes of games. This is the old corporate cease and desist. Perfect Aim is the group which sold aimbots and other tools as a monthly subscription service for Destiny 2. It has taken down its Destiny 2 products following the legal pressure. And I guess this will be these subscription cheat services, man. There's a lot of damn money to be made in cheating. Some of these cheats are expensive. $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month for access to some of these cheats.
Well, in some streamers, now the kind of the dirty little secret is some streamers have private cheat makers that work with them because they're willing to pay. If the streamers, if this is their income, right, they're willing to pay $1,000 a month or more for a cheat, depending on how much they're making streaming. And so that way they will have a cheat maker that maybe makes cheats for 4 or 5 people, and that's it. Like that's their cap. They open up slots, is what they call it. They'll have 5 slots for a specific cheat. They will only sell to those 5 people that, if someone quits getting the cheat, that a slot opens up and they'll make it for someone else. That makes it to where it's very difficult for the game developers or whatever the network may be, PlayStation or whatever they're playing on, to detect it, because there's only 5 people in the world that have that cheat. And so this is kind of a custom made. This version of it is for the masses. For $50 you can get it. There's a good chance that that'll be detected because how many people have that $50 plan. But this seems to be the way that cheat makers do it now with a subscription-based service, and they make a decent amount of money doing that.
I've always wanted to purchase these. I'm not going to, but I'd love to try to purchase one of these monthly subscription cheats and just see what the process. Like, I wonder how easy is it? I mean, it can't be that complicated.
I mean, I'm sure they just have a control panel you log in that lets you download it, for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there probably isn't too much to it. That's a big risk to get banned from a platform. I don't know. For me, if I got banned from Steam, that would really suck.
I mean, yeah, you'd lose your entire retirement. I mean, you'd be.
I know.
You'd be
I got a few games on there, so
yeah. Judd says it's very easy. I've done research to try and reverse a cheat before. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. Last time I did in-depth research for Infection Podcast, I ended up installing Chinese malware on my computer. So I am not.
Learned his lesson.
Yeah, I'm not going to be purchasing a cheat. But I tried back in the H1Z1 days, and it ended up.
And the problem is he installed this like 10, 15 minutes before the show. It changed the language
of the computer,
his whole computer to Chinese or something, or
like Chinese simplified Chinese or something. Yeah,
yeah, and then he had to figure out how to reverse that.
All these
he couldn't
apps.
read any of the things that were popping up on the screen. Lesson learned.
I have done it all, Brian. For the fans, I've done it all. I have put myself personally at risk for this podcast, and for you, putting my VPN password on a public text file.
Yes, you did. Well, luckily that doesn't like open up a door to you. But.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, let's here's an interesting
how about we do one more game giveaway? Are we going to be ending close to 7 today?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go do one more giveaway here really quick. Locklore 97, congratulations, Locklore 97. I will be sending you a key here in a few minutes for XERA, and then we want to thank Joshua especially for providing these keys and allowing us to do the game giveaway.
Yeah, giving us a little bit of inside scoop on some of the things that they're working on, which is always cool. Mm-hmm. It's only a matter of time. Every other developer that we've had a friendly relationship with, we've ended up destroying one way or the other. Being honest. So,
well, I mean, miscreated. Their main developer is a little bit mad at me, but hey, they were legitimate critiques. You can't have one chest that holds 5 things for a clan of 15 people. It just doesn't work. I tried to explain this. He didn't agree. And then H1Z1, well, that was a slow trickle.
I mentioned banning China, and that was it. That was all. We
were doing a live interview. Doing a live interview with Adam and who else was it? It was
Adam.
The other guy now works at Amazon doing their stuff. I think
it's Adam and it was the other guy,
the tall skinny guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
But so Nick asked them about cheaters from China, and they were like, pretty much, what cheaters from China? I don't know what you're talking about. We're like, I was like, the masses of cheaters from China in your game. Yeah.
Like if I look at the scoreboard, the number one leader right now is QQ1869743. He's got 10,000 kills in the past 24 hours.
Yeah, somehow he has 1,000 kills for every death. Now, if you could explain that, I mean, is he that good, or what is it?
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, thank you, Joshua. We'll be kind. Let's speaking of games we have not been very kind about. Arma, and Arma has got an update trailer out for their 2.0 update. I don't know how Arma 2.0, Arma 3 2.0. This game's been out for years, so let's take a look at what we've got here on the Arma front. On the Arma front, there we go. Phew. Close one.
Glad to see you finally made it.
All right. Not really sure exactly what all we watched. But a couple of different things.
This is standard Arma, how they do it.
And that's the other thing to know. Arma by itself is not all that sexy. Arma with third-party maps and mods and modes can be relatively sexy. So It's not Arma itself is not all that.
Well, the
cool.
secret is they're really adding items for modders to use in their mods. So that, but of course they have to make it look like it's for some specific reason. So, they'll put, we're adding this little stupid scenario that has all this new stuff. The scenario is really stupid, but the modders go, yes. And they all buy, more DLCs if they have them and everything else.
Yes. So that is Arma. You can read the full patch notes on their website. On their Steam. On their Steam, the update for that is on there.
But they have like kind of the firing drill is pretty much a shooting range.
Mm-hmm.
They tweak some things with the editor, having it work better with Steam Workshop and stuff like that. And I think it's on sale right now. Is it?
Oh, that would be cool.
I don't know. They're claiming maybe it's not yet. There are a few discounts, but not on the main game. So maybe at some point they will be. But yeah, they were claiming that there was a sale, but I'm not seeing it. So
gotcha. All right, let's talk about Arc here for a second. Just one quick update this week. 3.14.13. Tech grenades when attached to the Scout will now instantly explode. And then further enhancements to the mesh protection system to prevent projectiles and structures from being fired or placed inside the mesh. The mesh is essentially the ground of the map. Everything is on top of the mesh. And there's open world games like this always have issues with meshes because it's a very complicated thing when you're placing things on top, and it's a whole thing. But they're still working on their mesh protection system. So pretty light.
Well, one problem is. But with the things that we were running into issues of is people were using specific dynos to where they could put a platform on the front of it. They could walk the dyno up to it and then sit in a chair, right?
Yes.
They would get out of the chair. The animation moving forward would then push them through the mesh to where they could get into areas of the map and break into people's bases that they weren't supposed to. Streamers raised about it for months. They started banning people who would talk about the problem. Realized, this is a PR nightmare when you're dealing with streamers who the whole thing is a bunch of people watching them while they talk about the game. And then you're banning those guys because they're mentioning that your system is incredibly broken. So now they've been putting a lot of effort into actually fix this, which is good. But it took them years to even address it and to take it seriously.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people are pissed.
I'm looking forward to their Halloween update. Arc is always the creme de la creme when it comes to different holidays. Thanksgiving's a big one for them. Easter's another.
We know you
one.
love the turkeys.
I do. They're still following me in my sleep. And then of course Christmas and then Halloween. So hopefully we'll have that next week, and that'll be in there for a couple of weeks. But a pretty light week on the Arc front over there.
Let's talk about Atlas really quick.
Okay.
Because
what you got from
Atlas? They just a little bit ago during the show announced some changes. First of all, a new direction. So hopefully we'll see. This is my first reading of this because it just got announced, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll run with it. After a lot of internal discussion, we have decided to start cranking out more frequent, smaller content drops rather than larger, expansive features that take months to prepare. Yes, as Nick said, good deal. This ultimately does not change our current feature course, but rather than wait for more content, we are simply going to drop what we're working on now, the first iteration of the trade system next week. How does this affect your everyday pirate life? More dev news. You are going to hear from us more often on new features we are developing. Faster content drops means more new features, but also means more map wipes. Good and bad, right? In the true spirit of early access, which Atlas certainly is still in, we're going to tell our awesome community what we are working on, ask the community for gameplay feature ideas, and see if some of them work. Not every feature we test will ultimately make it into the final game. We might change our mind. Now, without further ado, they're going to talk about the trade system. Since they started this renewed Atlas journey, they've introduced the farmhouses, warehouses, and now they've hinted at these were more than just a standard quality of life improvements. We're building upon these features by developing a trade system. So they're having a new structure called markets. They said these are used to set up trades. They'll need to be connected to a warehouse, which in turn should be connected to a farmhouse. Farmhouses are used to fill the warehouse that the market will use to look up things to trade. Markets will need to be placed next to a warehouse, and each warehouse may only have one market. Players will need to control both land for resources and markets, and sea for trade routes. In the actual market itself, players will have a menu that will allow them to set up the resources for trade and the exchange rate at which they will trade for. Players can then request trading routes with other markets. With this really, we'll see if they talk about this a little bit more, but it sounds like people can do things on your islands, sell items to your market, right? Or purchase items, and you can put the markup of what you purchase it at versus what you sell it at. And then you'll be able to set up ships that will automatically go back and forth to be able to trade with other places, maybe for resources. The interesting thing would be then pirating would have an actual use, because maybe you could intercept ships and steal from them, things like that. And also here we have a new island type called control points. This will be an integral part of the trading system. Each grid on the server may have anywhere between 1 and 3 control points that companies can capture for advantage. When trade conditions are met, markets will create a shipment of goods. This trade ship will automatically sail to its target destination, going through any control points on the grid that are part of its route. These shipments will also generate gold for each party. The longer the trade routes, the more gold is generated. Companies that own a control point can set a tax on any shipment moving through it. If there is more than one control point on a grid, the shipment will automatically choose the lower tax if available. If a company owns a control point on the grid, it will prioritize the companies to avoid tax. Companies that own a control point can also choose to blockade specific companies from using the control point, making it possible for companies to stop trades between others. Players will also be able to directly attack any shipment en route as well. There we go. Control point islands will have a unique icon on the map. These islands will contain a central structure surrounded by cannon towers. Players will have to destroy all cannon towers and the middle structure, where they will have a plant a flag in order to gain control. The structure will then rebuild themselves, and players will be able to place the cannon towers at specific defensive points and build other defensive structures around them. Control points will automatically start defending itself once attacked. Next to towers will be the tax bank, where the taxed gold is collected. Unknown control points will still defend them and will collect taxes into its tax bank. Tax banks can be destroyed and stolen from. On PvE, no one can take ownership of the control points. The trade routes will always be open to anyone. However, the control points will always collect taxes at a set rate, and PvE will also be able to steal from the tax bank. So that's really big change, giving some of these features a point of actually existing. I think this is going to make a huge difference. It'll be interesting to see if we'll have the issues with like big Chinese clans coming in and just controlling everything and making mass chaos, or if they're actually going to be able to control that. They're going to be having ramming ships. A couple of months back, they wanted to add an early version of for the gold system. Upon reviewing community feedback, they have gone to this ramming ship. The ship is for gold system will be slowly rolled out after they launch the trade system. Still in development, but you'll be able to ram. I guess this is trying to steal from those trade route ships. So that'll be a new feature in there. Also in the final note, they said, again, we will like to emphasize that Atlas is still in early access, meaning many things can and will likely continue to drastically change, even in the middle of development. Anything discussed is only up to date at the moment it is posted. Features and changes will ultimately make it to the next patch may be different from what was previously discussed. So they're pretty much starting over and building a whole new system from scratch. Sounds like
we're going on 2 years now that this game is out. Yep. December 2 years ago. PH and Ross are talking back and forth in chat saying, I wonder if Atlas can do a comeback. Ross says that's some interesting gameplay.
I think they need to make smaller servers. I think they need to quit having like 3 servers for everybody to play on, because that's too easy to manipulate, and make it more like Ark, maybe a bigger version of Ark, to where you have what still feels like a big system, but not everybody on one map, because we saw what happened with that last time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is XERA, pretty massive. Or XERA, Jesus, that is Atlas, pretty pretty major update there for them. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yep. All right. We don't have a ton of time. How about we talk really quickly about Dead by Daylight?
Okay, sure.
Because they put out a patch. This is their 4.3.0, and on here they have the executioner balance update. So they're doing a lot of tweaks to the executioner, to their perks and abilities. Also, they are changing some terminology with the generators. So a generator losing progress over time is regressing. Putting a generator into the regressing state is damage generator. If a generator loses some of the progress immediately, this is called losing progress. A block generator cannot change its progress. A block generator retains its regression state, but no progress is lost until it is no longer blocked. A regression generator can lose progress due to other effects, and a generator affected by ruin can still lose progress due to surge. So surge, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Overcharge have had their text updated to reflect these changes. They've also done some visual updates to, because remember they were going through and they did a lot of visual updates to some of the maps, and kind of announced some of they were going to be doing. Well, they've done visual updates to the Macmillan Estates realm, to the lockers, to the footsteps visual effects that they have. They visual updates to all of the blood effects on the screen, blood squirts on hit, and blood pool decals. They updated the visual effects for the Trapper, Wraith, and Hillbilly, and then they updated the dissolve visual effects for in-game and in lobbies. Also, they added 4K UI icons, so now they will scale up. So if you're running a 4K monitor, you will not probably see a little bit of pixelization on there anymore. And then the perk rarity, all perks now have the same rarity. So like tier 1 is uncommon, tier 2 is rare, and tier 3 is very rare. They did some bug fixes on here as well. They have one known issue still. The killer will sometimes see an incorrect animation during the start of a match camera pan. So that's all the main changes they did. And there's also a dev update blog that you can go check out that talks about all the things with chapter 16 in more detail. So if you're interested in really reading into those and each of the perks and the specific changes to those, you can go and check out their dev blog, and that's all on there.
All right, let's wrap up with one more item here, Brian. This is a game called Desolate. It's been out.
And this was
now, recommended
by Firebomb.
It's been out. It's been out. Been out going on almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in January. And they just had a big update for their 1.0 release. It is a first-person horror survival, but it's a 4-player game, so very similar to a Left 4 Dead or a what was that other zombie game where the plane crash?
The Forest.
The Forest, similar to that, where it's limited in the player count. It's not an open world survival game. They've got their trailer out here for their 1.0 update. So let's take a look at this trailer, and we'll discuss right after this. really, really well done live action trailer.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of a mixture of Stranger Things. I got a little bit of like the Chernobyl vibe, the TV show. Firebomb says he's playing it now. It's like Miscreated plus Fallout. It's not so much zombies as it is people that lost their mind, very similar to Resident Evil 4. Many jump scares, very atmospheric. So it's on sale right now. Huge, deep discounts, Brian.
70% off.
Yeah, I mean the prices these lows, you'll never find prices this low. 70% off. You can get it for $7.50. It's normally $25. So that is
I might as well grab it now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is when I make a bad financial decision and buy this. I know damn well I won't play it. So that is it's Desolate. There'll be a link in the show. By the way, reviews. All reviews, mostly positive. It's got about 4,500 or so reviews. 70% of them are positive. So obviously it's a playable game. It's somewhat polished enough that people are giving it those kind of reviews. PH, of course, bring up that it is co-op, so you want to play with friends. That's a big step. But that's not unique. I mean, again, you look at games like Left 4 Dead and The Forest, you want to play those games with friends too. It's and Raft. I mean, it's just kind of the name of the game. So that is there we Desolate.
Go. I got a copy of it now, so I'll be able to play with you.
Well, I mean, I don't have a copy. But
so one thing they on here. So this is their roadmap that they posted on here. The roadmap for the 2021. So early spring 2021, they're going to be redoing their weapon system, their close combat system. So they're going to have heavy, medium, and light style melee weapons. They're going to have the battles become more tactical. And they want to have it to where you'll be able to risk and try to parry your enemy's attack. In case of success, you'll gain an advantage. And then new animations will let you feel the battle dynamics and attack impacts better. Then in winter of 2021, they're going to be doing character visual improvements. So new hairstyles, beards, facial options for character creation, new starter suit for the main character, environment, 3D models, and texture updates. And they'll then in more towards the beginning of 21 or in February 2021, they're going to be working on the storyline, elaborating more on that. So they'll have the storyline, quests, and gameplay from voiceovers to everything else. So a lot of changes coming to this, and looks like they took a little bit of time of a break from when they released it, from their 1.0 to now, and now they're making some big plans to move forward. So should be exciting.
Yes, sir. I want to thank my buddy Melmo for hitting us up with the follow and subscription here on Twitch. Thank you very much, Mel. Played some Call of Duty with him last night. We had a pretty good time playing that. So
nice.
Thank you very much for that. All right. I believe that puts
one last thing I wanted to mention. If you go onto the Epic Game Store and you get the Rocket League, which is free, they give you a $10 coupon that you can use in the store to purchase anything else.
Oh, really?
So you just go get Rocket League, which you don't even have to download it. You just add it to your account, and then they'll give you a $10 coupon.
So you're telling me? Jesus, I got to do an update.
You're not
updated. I don't use it.
And now it's gonna. Yeah, Sweeney DM me really quick just to make sure I got that out on there.
Hold on, it's gonna auto update and probably put my computer in UAC. Hold on, let me end task. I can't even end. Okay, phew. That was a close one. Okay, I'll do that after the show.
Okay, but that's just something I figured. I saw a little notice, did it, gave me a $10 coupon, so I figured, hey, why not?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a sponsor. All right, we've got, I think, one more key or two more keys? I think one
more key. So let's go ahead and roll for this one, and this will finish it up. Perez, Perriz. Congratulations. And I will send you a message, and hopefully you all enjoy it. And as I said, I want to make sure we thanks Joshua for providing us with these keys, and excited for the changes that are coming out. And hopefully people that haven't had a chance to play this, that have won some keys, hopefully you enjoy the game. So
yeah, I'm planning on jumping in there this weekend, and I echo that, Brian. Thanks to Josh and his team, and I want to thank a couple of other people as well, including the Play Zero account who hit us up with a Tier 3 subscription here on Twitch. Very much appreciated, as well as Green Man Cartoons. I believe he's the sub leader, 33 months. Jesus. And then just hitting us up here towards the end of the show, my buddy Melmo. So thanks, guys. Greatly appreciated, and thanks to all the new folks that swung by the program tonight and subscribed. This is Infection. We're here every Tuesday night. We had to shoot the breeze, talk about survival video games for a couple of hours. We, as you see by the show number, we've been doing this for quite some time, going on 6 years in January. So it'll be we've got a little bit of experience under our belts here. But Brian, I know we've got some new people here, and I've been getting some DMs, some text messages during the show, people saying, "Hey, I know, big show, but you got to get current players in." So people have been hitting me up for it.
Oh, yeah.
People say, "Hey, we got to talk about
impatient."
Yeah, they are. They're getting a little impatient about it. And I say, okay, fine. We'll give you current players. We'll take a look at some people playing video games. We'll start that off with Ark, Survival Evolved. Currently playing 30,515. The 24-hour peak, 48,819, with a 7-day peak of 62,893. Moving on over to Rust, 37,929 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 57,625, with a 7-day peak of 70,217. Looking at 7 days, wow, these numbers are still rock solid. 15,139 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 18,974, with a 7-day peak of 26,413. Taking a look quickly at Conan Exiles, currently playing 9,330. The 24-hour peak, 13,745, with a 7-day peak of 17,249. Looking at Miscreated, currently playing 401. 635 is your 24-hour peak, and the 7-day peak, 728. And wrapping us up, can it make the comeback, the most improbable comeback? Atlas, currently playing 1,317, the 24-hour peak, 2,060, with a 7-day peak of 2,449. And that is current players, and that brings us up to date with all the people currently playing games. So there you go.
Very good. Well, let's go and roll into the second or third favorite part of the show, tip of the week, where we go through and do either a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. And I figured, hey, I'm trying to get Nick to play some Destiny 2, so this will do it. This will be tip of the week.
You gonna mail this in like Rockstar's trailer?
No, this is a good one. All right, so in Destiny 2, one thing it took me too long to figure out, first of all, I encourage you to find a clan, because if you can group up with people, you'll progress so much faster. You'll have people to ask questions to, and they'll really help you move around. So clans, and then that'll allow you to build fire teams, which are pretty much just groups. If you're looking to do raids, which is where the high-end gear is to get your high gear scores, you're gonna have to be in a clan for that, because queuing up for random raids is almost impossible without a group. I have never successfully queued into a random raid in Destiny 2, and I've sat there and had it wait for hours in queue. It just doesn't happen. Next, you need to look at the gear and your weapons. What you can do is you can actually customize each piece of gear with specific abilities. So if you go in there, you can add mods to each pieces of gear. And on that, first of all, they'll have an option where you can pick between two abilities. So you'll have like a main ability, and then you can pick two different abilities to where you can customize a little bit what your weapon is able to do. And then you'll pick up random mods that have different rarity levels, and then you can add those to your item to give it more of a specific, maybe a specific stat or ability. So that's really the secret to this game. You just pick up mass amount of weapons as you're running through. You'll pick up a bunch of weapons. Most of them are junk, and you'll sell them. But you'll find ones that have maybe a certain, like one with a really high fire rate, for close encounters, or maybe one that does really well remote damage. Once you find a really good weapon, you can then continue to update and upgrade that weapon to the max level of another one of your items. So you can actually sacrifice another item with a higher gear level and then upgrade the weapon that has better abilities, or maybe is just a better weapon overall, but not a high enough gear to where it's lower damage. You can actually sacrifice that higher item level number, and then it will make that other gun, maybe the gun that you want to keep, that higher level. So that's the secret to finding a really good gun, and then you can keep updating it as you find higher and higher pieces of maybe a weapon or a piece of armor, and then you can keep upgrading that better piece. So it seems kind of confusing, but once you get in there and start doing it, it's actually very easy to do. Works very well. So that is tip of the week.
Wow. All right. Little bit of a crash course.
Yeah. So that'll get you started because a lot of people don't realize that you can actually sacrifice your gear. And so you're like, oh, I leveled that really cool gun that has, maybe a really good, because some of them will have thermal sensors, just different things, or maybe they'll do a little of an auto aim for you. Well, that will eventually be a really low level item, and a lot of people just quit using it. No, upgrade that thing to the max level and keep using it. You don't have to give them up. So pretty nice.
Well,
all right. Is there anything else we need to do before we roll on out of here? Usually we'll do the game giveaway now, but we've been doing them already.
Yeah, no, sir. I think that's about it. Just thanks to Josh and his team and everybody who hit us up with the subscriptions here.
Very good. Well, if you want to find me, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Parler, or you can go to my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, you can go and check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Just make sure on the right-hand side there, you join our server on Discord. That's where we primarily hang out for playing games. Or if you want to submit news topics, if there's something that you think we should be covering that we are not, make sure you go into our Discord, submit that to our news channel. We also have other channels for Sober October and just some other areas, politics channel, if you're interested in any of those. We have our Steam group if you want to get a notification before our live show starts, so you can participate in the chat like you've heard people doing. Also, you've heard a number of people that have been subscribing and everything. If you want to be able to do that, you have to be in our chat, and that is, so you can just join us live from our Steam group. Just as long as you have Steam open, it'll do a little notice. If not, then you won't see anything. We also have our video forms of the podcast. We have our Twitch, we have our YouTube, we have our BitChute and DLive. And those all have video forms, and a number of them have those recorded after the fact and uploaded, and some stream live. If you want, our audio only form is only after the fact. So if you have a podcasting app or a desktop app, you can look at the lower right-hand side and be a part of that. Also, we have on there our Infection Podcast Extras. If you want to see our pre and post show, you can jump in and view those on our Extras channel. Thank you for Judd for doing that. We also have show notes for 301 episodes. So if you want to follow along, if you're listening after the fact, just jump on that page. We've got a player for the video on there and an audio only player if you want to do it directly from that page. If you want to support us, you've heard people that are doing their Prime Gaming subs. We really appreciate those. They add up throughout the year to help us pretty much pay for packs for the most part, with the least amount out of pocket that we need to do. And then also you can do humble.infectionpodcast.com if you're going to be doing any Humble bundles, or amazon.infectionpodcast.com if you're going to be purchasing anything maybe for Christmas and things like that. As a lot of people are doing some purchases. So that really helps us out. And thank you very much.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Brian. As always, we appreciate it. We'll see you. We'll see you next Tuesday for another episode, and then we'll see you the week after on a Wednesday for a special Halloween edition of Infection. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it. If you want to check me out online, you can do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. If you want to get some political stuff, you can do that over there. If you missed any portion of the show, you can check out show notes, images, links, all that fun stuff on our website, infectionpodcast.com. That's going to do it, folks. Have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.